that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. This is the show that has hosted everyone from Sugar Ray Leonard to Keith One-Time Thurman. This is Tough Talk Tonight, brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing.
Welcome to another episode of Tough Talk Tuesday. As always, I'm your host, Lucas Biggers. Alongside me is Rob and James. Sakura's going to be probably out today. I'm sure at some point Javi will join on, late as always, fashionably late. Tough Talk is brought to you by Heavy Bag Boxing. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Sorry about the little delay there, and last week for not being here. I was on vacation, so we kind of had to everybody take a vacation. But definitely appreciate you guys tuning in. Let's catch up on last week first, guys. So, Rob, if you can remember, Charlo versus Montiel, he seemed to struggle. What was your take on that fight? Was it a bad showing for Charlo, good showing for Montiel, combination of both? What happened there?
No, it's getting, my personal opinion, I think it's getting harder and harder for this Charlo to stay motivated. Honestly, Montiel put up a good effort, but he's not nowhere near the type of competition that Charlo has already been beaten, and the type of performance that he's put up against those formidable opponents. So I think it's more so, really, to me, it just seemed like it was a lack of motivation. He knew he would win the fight. He really didn't care how. He just was there, showed up, and got the job done.
He did. I thought he was pretty good. I mean, he looked fine. His conditioning was great. Looked fine. He just had an opponent that wouldn't go away, and it's kind of like chasing a fly around your house. You just can't get it out of there sometimes. And it's kind of a crooked analogy, but you can't really train for these fighters that come at you that way. There's not much that Montiel could do, although in the later rounds he did land a few. I'll give him that much. I don't know. I thought Charlo, for what he had in front of him, looked okay. Could have looked better. I agree with you, Rob, but in the end, he got it done. And I will agree he's looked better in the past. But it's just, it was a difficult opponent, not because of his power or his size or his speed. Just a difficult one. A guy who moves around a lot. I think we had someone that we spoke of a few weeks ago that was kind of difficult to hit. I don't know who exactly that was. Maybe it was Figueroa. That style is just not easy to work with, and I think Charlo made the best of it.
Now, did this drop the stakes at all for Charlo, do you think? Either one of you, as far as your own personal stakes? No, James?
No.
Rob?
I mean, again, I'm going back to
rolling.
I'm going back to the lack of competition. He needs more motivation in this sport. We need to see him against.
Cannot hear you.
Huh, I can hear him. That's weird. Can you hear me?
I can't hear either one of you.
Uh-oh. Might be on your end. Because, Rob, you can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying, I think it's lack of motivation. I need to see Charlo in
you guys hear
fights.
Me?
Yeah. So you think he's fighting down to his competitions?
As far as right now goes, yes. I think he's fighting. I definitely think that fight he fought down to his competition. Yes, Montiel was coming forward and coming at him, and he couldn't get him out of there. But those are the moments you train for. Those are the moments you get ready for in the gym throughout the whole training camp. So to me, there's no excuse.
All right.
Yeah. To me, there's no excuse for that type of performance. I'd rather see him go all out.
I agree. I mean, everybody wanted to see, a knockout, and, I think everybody was a little let down that didn't happen. But I agree with both of you. I really don't think this, makes his stock go down at all. He's an awkward guy. Maybe just had his, had his number, so to speak, but he didn't beat him. It was just, awkward, and, he survived. He won, so moving on to the next. Let's talk a little bit also about Gabe Rosado, who got a knockout win. At first, I was feeling really, really happy for Rosado. I love Rosado. Love to see him in the ring. And it's glad to see him back in there. His last fight against Jacobs, a lot of people thought he got kind of screwed over. And he got a knockout win, but it was against the guy who's 7-0. And he just seemed a little too green, a little too green to be able to pull off that win. Is that what you guys saw too? Just a little too early for him?
Yeah, I mean, at 7-0, and you're fighting a guy like Rosado, who I think right now is in the best he's ever been, especially coming off of that performance he did with Jacobs. Again, though, I want to see these guys in the type of clash and the type of fight that would test them. Rosado, has been banged up before, so maybe he's trying to look at guys to build victories for, so he can come back and bring up his name into a bigger fight where he may think he possibly has a better chance. But Rosado did what he's supposed to do. He got the job done to a very green opponent. And, my hat's off to Rosado. I hope he keeps winning. I hope he gets that rematch with Jacobs, because I really think he should be able to pull that one off.
Well, I don't know that he would get a rematch with Jacobs, but at 168, he's in there. He's in the game. He came to the party. Third round knockout. It was kind of a highlight knockout. And it doesn't surprise me at all, because the guy's always in the gym. He's always in shape. I said it before. He's a gym rat. And guys like that, you got to watch out for. Malakuziev, he was on his trajectory with 7-0 and, is in good standing in the super middleweight division. But he met a rock, and that rock was not going away. And Gabriel Rosado, hats off to him, man. He's got 25 victories. He's got a few losses racked up in there, but he's got some good opponents behind him. So you fight a guy like that, you got to watch out. You got to be really, really careful. And once again, man, hats off to Gabe Rosado. Good job there.
Yeah, definitely. The only thing that took away from it is that he was 7-0, because you seen Gabe Rosado come up. And like I said, he was kind of treated that way. He was thrown to the wolves early. And to see him turn around and kind of do the same thing, it's part of the business. I get it. But, yeah, it just seemed a little too early for the guy to be fighting a seasoned vet like Rosado.
I would assume that he has. I'm not sure, but I would assume he has a really good amateur career. So if he doesn't, or if he does, who knows? 7-0, he's, he was coming in and he was lunging a lot too. So that's not a good sign. No. That's got to be corrected.
Yeah.
Sure, they'll work on it.
We all know, that, pros and amateurs might as well be two different sports. Very different, but nevertheless, good to see Rosado back in the win column. But let's move on. Guys, the one fight I did not watch, and I kind of want your, or even the highlights of, is the Leo fight. Javi has been saying that he felt like it was a gift decision for Leo. Can you guys kind of explain to me what happened in that fight?
I think he was gifted the decision. But then again, that's what happens when you have opponents that are unknown like that. Leo was on the come up. He was the promoter's fighter. He was the main fighter on that particular card. Nobody knew nothing about his opponent at all. So that's why he got the nod, I believe. And to be honest, it was really just more of a letdown fight for Leo. I really don't think that he per se got embarrassed out there or anything like that. Not to take away from anything from the other guy, but I really think that if he did lose the fight, he beat himself more than really the other guy taking it to him and winning that fight. So that's why I personally think he was gifted the decision, really, because he let himself down, not the other way around.
There was a card on that particular fight that was really, really obscure. I think two judges got it right, and one of them gave Aaron Alameda like 1 or 2 rounds, and I thought that was just horrific. Just trying to look it up here now, but great fight, really, really tight. Could have gone either way. Just that one card. I think the judge's name is Sarah. Her last name is Saragosa, Eva Saragosa, 98-92. GTFO. Randy Russell had it 96-94, and then 95-95 for Jesse Reyes as judges go. That could have been a draw. Yeah. Aaron Alameda fought his ass off. Really, really good disciplined fighter. And if you give it to Angelo Leo, great. But, I mean, you got to rectify that score. This lady, Zaragoza, needs to go to judging school. Needs to go back to school on this. She blew it.
There's a fight like that this weekend where one of the judges had it. I'm sure we're going to talk about it, but on this weekend's card too, and it sounded like it was another lady judge, and I don't know if it was the same one, but she had like 2 rounds she picked for Nakatani.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, they read the scorecards off the air, but the judging nowadays is really subjective. We had the judge come on the show recently, and he told us why, though.
Lou.
You know what I'm saying? Lou Morrell, yeah, and he told us why judging sometimes can be like that. So I don't know what these judges see at all these times, but to the point with Leo, he also suffered a little bit of what Loma did in that Teo fight. He started too late. You can't come on in the second half after losing all those rounds early on and in a competitive fight and expect to really take on and win the fight.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Sakura's commenting here says very competitive, and it was Leo that pushed forward in the second half of the fight. And then she said, "Oh boy, here we go talking about lady judges." Laughing face. Well, they don't have a good record. Okay, now boxing judges as a whole don't really have, the greatest reputation sometimes, especially among boxing media and boxing fans. But yeah, you got Adelaide Bird with some questionable things.
You had to say that name.
Yeah, it's a bad one.
That one, yeah, that's a rough one.
They would have mull over that. But let's go ahead and move forward. I mean, it sounds like you're both in agreement, though, that Leo was kind of granted a gift for the most part. That's what it sounds like. So.
I thought it was you.
Yeah, close fight, man. It was a close fight. It's just that one card is really obscure. But I think that Aaron Alameda knows how well he did, and he'll be back.
All right.
He'll be back. He's a Sonoran fighter. Those guys never stop.
Well, let's go to Sakura, who is missing today. She's out, not feeling well, just under the weather here. Let's go to the tweet of the week and talk about that. CJ's saying, let's get to the meat and potatoes. I know you're wanting to talk about this weekend's fight. We're going to get there. I promise you. It's coming. All right. Tweet of the week this week, Sakura provided for us, is from BoxingScene.com. Manny Pacquiao's promotions president. Pacquiao versus Spence is 1,000% happening. Does this put your guys' mind at ease, or are you still thinking, it's a possibility that this still doesn't happen?
So let me just say something here. And just in the facts that what I'm reading, of course, confirmed by ESPN. Based off of the article that came out with the lawsuit and everything, Manny did sign a contract with the promotional company. He did come out and sign that contract. And it was for like a $3 million deal, from what I understand. So there was millions on the line with that contract. When he goes in and signs the contract, one of the stipulations in the contract is saying that we dictate who you fight and when. So why would Manny go out and sign the contract if he didn't, if he, especially with it being Conor McGregor's promotional company, if Manny didn't want that fight? Because let's face it, that's all that promotional company wanted to sign him for, was to pit him up against Conor McGregor in the ring, which it looks like Conor is now fully focused on his UFC career, as he should be. But my question with it is why did Manny sign that contract and then negate it? You know that there's going to be a lawsuit pending. You know that this was going to happen.
I mean, you know why it was signed. I mean, clearly money. McGregor's worth a lot of it. Okay, signing a McGregor fight is going to maybe not have as much potential as Mayweather-McGregor, but you can see what these YouTubers bring. I mean, it's all about a fan base, and McGregor brings a lot of it. I mean, I don't blame him. Maybe he's thinking about one of his last fights. We forget he is up there. He's 42. But I'm not knocking him, because instead of going that route, he has actually went ahead and fighting Spence. I mean, I don't see anybody else calling out Spence or going that way.
So I agree with that. But as far as putting this Spence fight in jeopardy, he did that. Now let's go back to the other facts that came out in that article. The other promoted fighter in that company is Mikey Garcia. This actually caused Mikey Garcia to leave that promotional company. Why? Because he was chasing the Pacquiao fight. So obviously with Pacquiao signing the contract, promises were made that he did not keep. And in my opinion, that wholeheartedly jeopardizes what he does in his future right now, because he blatantly did business and signed a contract with these people for these two particular fights and backed out.
It's funny because you and Sakura kind of said that at the same time. She said Mikey Garcia was also signed with them. And maybe he was. And maybe he's chasing
he was.
But
He was, yeah. And then he backed out of the deal because this Pacquiao fight went around. So not only did did Pacquiao breach the contract, he caused him to lose Mikey Garcia as a fighter, and then possibly gobs of money on this McGregor fight.
Yeah, she said it was a bad move from the beginning. Yeah, can't disagree there. As far as I knew, Pacquiao was a free agent, so why he would sign with this promotional company just to get a fight with McGregor, I mean, or Garcia, or Mikey Garcia for that matter, just, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense to me.
There's one thing there, though, that Pacquiao does have those elements in place. He's got a manager, and he's got his attorneys and everything that can handle all this negotiation. There's no need for him to go to forget what his name is Paradigm Sports or whatever it's called, or the agency. There's no need for any additional representation there. So why he took money from them is a complete, mystery to me. There was something really strange in the explanation that Pacquiao's attorney mentioned, and he said something about if he knew that they were not going to fulfill their end of the bargain, he wouldn't have taken it, or something like that, something to that effect. That entire line made no sense to me. It seems like Pacquiao knew, based on the way this is written, that there was not going to be an event, but he was taking money because on the backside, this particular person who runs Paradigm was taking money from investors to make this happen. None of this makes any sense, especially the way that's worded. And I reached out to someone whose article I read, sent him an email trying to get a clarification, but there was no response there. And that's all right. But what I do want to say is that there's something that doesn't make any sense here in the explanation that the attorney gave. It's either bogus or poorly written. But at some point, it just lost me. And so I've been trying to read a little bit more on this, and I haven't really found any more than I already have. I hope it doesn't blow Spence Pacquiao, because that's what we're all waiting for.
Yeah, what you were talking about, I wonder if maybe some of this, $3.3 million, could have been maybe a retainer for him to fight McGregor or Garcia, and whatever they were trying to provide for Pacquiao just never came through. At least that's what it sounds like, but who knows? I mean, we can only speculate, honestly.
Yeah, no, it's just the way. I mean, I was looking at it just now, and just the way it's written, it really doesn't make any sense. And this is his attorney's explanation. So, hopefully, this fight goes. Hopefully, it goes, and no hitches. It'd be a shame if it got lost in the courts.
Sakura says the problem is they wanted a 4-fight deal. He doesn't want that or the Saudi money, which is who they wanted to get some of the money from. Pac didn't want 4 fights. This is what they kept trying to create. So, I don't know. Maybe the $3.3 million was some kind of sign-on bonus, and maybe, you know, the Manny Pacquiao Promotions president's able to get him out of all this. Like you said, he has enough pull and representation already that they probably, you know, get him out of this without an issue.
There is a possibility that this was non-refundable.
Very, very possible.
Which is what his side is trying to say.
And if that's not, I mean, then, you know, that is
that's
what
just
it
a
is.
guess.
And people are going to look at it and say, you know, Pacquiao took $3.3 million and then ran, but you don't know the whole story. So, let's just kind of take it from there. Javi, welcome.
How you doing, guys? How's everything?
Good.
I got a lot of things on my chest, but you know, I'm gonna go according to. I know we missed last week, so I got a few things to say about last week.
Yeah. The only thing we have not talked about last week is Chavez Jr.
I'm gonna have to speak. I can literally pass on that, you know.
You gonna pass on that?
Yeah.
Oh man, I feel bad for Senior. You know, as a father myself, and it was around Father's Day there. It's just like, oh man.
Yeah. I mean, I never respected much from Junior, so maybe that's why I don't judge him to the same, you know, I guess standards as the people might expect from him. I never respected much from him, so I never actually took him serious because he never took the sport serious, you know. He has the name and everything, but look, man, he's got beat up by. I mean, that's a win for the MMA brothers and the UFC brothers because they were losing to these YouTubers. So at least, you know, now they came up. You know, I gotta give credit to Silva. You know, he beat somebody that, you know, got some boxing skills.
Not to mention the fact that Silva did show some boxing skills in there. Let's not negate the fact that he was a boxer. I think he had a 2-0 record or something like that a long, long time ago. So he does have some boxing skills in there, but this really, let's face it, this was more about the big letdown of Junior. He didn't make the weight, meaning he's undisciplined. He's still not working out as he should in the gym. And if you're not living the lifestyle, you're just not going to be able to beat anybody. He needs Chavez Jr. completely. If anybody ever is even in attendance for one of his fights again on Earth, they should be shot.
What I'm saying is he keeps signing to these weights and he never misses weight. So how about you go up in weight? Like I wonder he goes up in weight and signs at a bigger weight. He'll still miss the weight. Like
CJ Hooker said, let that one go. Your career is done and over. It don't matter what weight class. He can go up to damn heavyweight if he wants to, for all I care. I'm not watching this guy fight ever. He should maybe go into doing medical or doing marijuana cannabis sales for God's sake. Stop trying to play boxing.
It's just sad to see how he fell. I mean, with the whole Sergio Martinez fight, to watch him come from that to this performance, it's just, man.
Yeah, man, it was bad. But you know what, though? I mean, I think like Robert said, you know, he like I said, I never took him serious. I think Chavez Jr. will be the type of fighter to go a heavyweight and still miss weight. So I'm not having it. I'm not having it with him no more. And Rosado, did we touch on Rosado?
We did, but go ahead. Whatever thoughts you have.
I'm just glad he put back in the map. You know, he needed a win so bad, and you know, I think he has some type of belt, so he has something to get some fights. And you know, Rosado fights they're like kind of like Gotti. except that he barely wins. But Rosado is a fan-friendly fighter. I don't know
against the 7-0 fighter, Hobby. I'm sorry, but that's what we touched on.
That's what we talked about. He was a little green, and it was kind of awkward to see Rosado in the other side of it, because usually he's the one that was being, thrown to the wolves, so to speak. So
he's always been thrown to the wolves.
Yeah, he has early in his career.
Fact, I think this one, matter of fact, it was a test for the kid, right, for the undefeated fighter, to see he can get over to move it to the next level. And obviously, Rosado came to spoil the party.
Yeah. And he did not pass the test. So, all right, let's get to the meat and potatoes, as CJ wants to call it here. Talk about Lomachenko versus Nakatani.
Loma the God, baby. Loma the God.
The return of the quote, Loma the God. So,
it's true.
The main question that I asked and that I've been kind of promoting the show with is, did his performance warrant the rematch with Teofimo Lopez?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean,
take that first.
Listen, there's a lot of people that wants to see that rematch. Me myself, I will not mind it, and I always said it from the beginning. That always was a pay-per-view fight to me, worthy. To me that was like I said it before. That's boxing porn on its totality. You know what I'm saying? That was like a good matchup, and yeah, I would love to see it. I think, like many of the greats, Lomachenko will not only best Teo, but he will go for try to have like some type of career finisher performing against him, kind of like Leonard did to Duran on the rematch, kind of like some fighters have done in the rematch, where they, basically they leave not only leave all the doubts from the fight before, but they completely dismantle their opponents on the rematch, and I think that could happen. And I love Teo. I'm a fan of both.
I agree. After watching him fight Nakatani, it was the old Lomachenko that we know, with all the footwork and the quick hands and all the angles and everything he does in the ring. And that made me think a lot about the rematch. And I know that they didn't want a rematch simply because there was no rematch clause or whatever. But at the same time, I was thinking, whatever happened in those first 6 rounds or 8 rounds or whatever, what on earth were you thinking? You can't win if you're losing. If you're not winning rounds, you're blowing it.
Yeah.
All that came back, and I'm just thinking, man, they really do need a rematch here, and it's a very, very lucrative fight. I mean, we're talking about 2 of the best, and I really think it'll happen. There's just too much money on the table here.
That could be, but you know what, too? One of the reasons why, I mean, even though I want to see the rematch, I can understand why it couldn't happen, and I'm okay if it doesn't happen as well. It's because Loma kind of played himself with that. He was the one that didn't want the rematch close. He was the one that said he was not going to do a rematch. Now you're asking for a rematch. To me, as a fan, it's a little bit of a letdown, but it kind of shows you that you can't get too greedy on these things right here, because look what happened. So I'm not saying that a rematch is bad. I'm saying is if it doesn't happen, well, guess what? You decided to go that route, and Teo has all the right to say no. Fuck that. You didn't want it when we should have put it in because you thought you were too big for this. Now I don't want it. We're gonna leave it like that. And Teo has all the right to move along. But it'd be nice to have the rematch. It would definitely be nice.
CJ Hooker says, I'm going to say no, and Teo needs to go for undisputed with a fight against Devin Haney. And that's definitely a possibility.
Let me address that right
I think Haney's of vulnerability, and I think Teo would definitely go for that if the fight is presented. Let's continue first before you touch on that, Rob. I promise you can get it. Sakura says Loma showed he is still elite, and his maiden opponent Teo had issues with was easy for him. Yeah. Got a good point there. CJ, continue. Lomachenko needs to fight the other guy we will talk about after this. You're right, and that is coming next. But go ahead, Rob.
No, what I'm promoting tonight is the truth. Okay, what I'm promoting tonight is for people and the fans to stand up and speak the truth and not the hate. Okay, the Matrix is back, and not only is he back looking like the Matrix, he looks like a pound for pound top quality fighter. Those moves he made in that ring, and Shakur is absolutely right, against a tough opponent that made Teofimo look bad in a previous fight. Not only did Lomachenko come out and dominate every single round, that's why I'm pissed off about that lady judge that scored 2 rounds from Nakatani. You cannot find 2 rounds in that entire fight. You can't even find 2 minutes in that entire fight where he won any part of it. Not to mention the fact that it was a victorious TKO knockout. And it was a true TKO knockout against a legit tough fighter. All that being put aside, we heard the excuses about the last fight with Tio. He might have proved us something was wrong. You know, he did go through shoulder surgery. Shoulder looked real good. He got cut in this fight. That didn't even faze him, even though it was in a good spot. That didn't even faze him. He went out and did what he's supposed to do. So let's speak the truth tonight. Let's speak honesty. Lomachenko absolutely deserves that rematch. And like Bob Arum said, T.O., he just made you a rich man after Saturday night, because that's what all the fans want to see. My question is T.O. ready for that rematch?
You know, I think the fight is going to happen, and I say that only because of Senior's reaction. Senior wants this fight to happen. It was clapping for
Loma's
knockout.
Dollar signs.
Yeah,
he sees dollar signs right in his eyes. You can see that in his eyes. But let me tell you why I asked if T.O. is ready, guys, because of what Senior said. He's in Italy. After testing positive for COVID, he tested negative, got approved. The fight is now really in jeopardy against Kambosa, and the kid is in Italy on vacation. What's going on with T.O. right now?
I mean, is it possible that this kind of leads to that whole fight just falling apart and, you know, T.O. Loma, you know, filling the gap?
I'm okay.
He's not ready yet. T.O. isn't ready yet, y'all. T.O. isn't. You don't go to testing positive for COVID in a fight that you're supposed to go out and win victoriously, to testing positive for COVID, to not even being in training camp anymore. You're on vacation in Italy? Give me a break.
Well, I think the fight got pushed again, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It was scheduled for sometime in August, and I think it was scheduled in September now.
Now they're pushing it back to September.
So he's got time to chill and then get back into camp.
That's right.
Maybe late July or whatever. Italy's not that far.
Possibly the best point is made remotely here from Sakura. It will happen because it's an in-house fight, which Top Rank and Bob loves. We're going to talk more about in-house fights, but that's what the next topic. We're going to wait on that.
I had something for that tonight too. Damn.
Correct. And it's going to happen. Not only that, but I think it can make pay-per-view now. ESPN had to float the money, you know, for that first fight to happen. But I think now these two fighters warrant it. This is definitely a pay-per-view fight, and I think we'll all gladly pay for it.
I'd definitely pay for that one. I'd pay for that in a heartbeat.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the next fight, and we'll also be talking about in-house fighting after this, but Gervonta Davis's knockout over Barrios. Guys, were you impressed? He did seem to be down. What was your guys' take on the fight as a whole?
Super impressed. Super impressed. Yeah, very impressed. He got outboxed early because Barrios is a pretty decent boxer. He's just a little short on power there, I think. But I think that Gervonta Davis is the one. He's got speed, he's got talent, he's got everything. He's the complete package, and he just cruised through the first few rounds, figured things out, and when he needed to take him out, he did. that's to say that he could have taken him out in the 6th if he wanted, the 7th if he wanted. He turned up the heat and got it done. That's the Reader's Digest version of what I saw, but pretty impressed with him.
Yeah, I mean, he was getting, like you said, outboxed, and it takes a champ to hang in there and still be able to pull that knockout off.
And not to take anything away from Barrios. He did a pretty good job in boxing, and staying safe and everything he had to do in the ring. Stayed off the ropes, which is a good thing. Had his moments, but it's not enough.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people think that this did make Tank look vulnerable, especially to being outboxed. I don't know about being outslugged. I don't know if anybody can outslug him, but it did definitely make his case for a pay-per-view, because it was a very entertaining fight, and I think it made his case for a pay-per-view star. Whereas before the fight started, I was against it. I was actually thinking that he did not belong as a pay-per-view star. I didn't think he had the fan base for it either, but I think his fan base is continuing to grow, especially after Saturday night.
Javi, what you got?
He's off screen now.
I got you. I think I'm impressed with both guys. I think Barrios did a great number in there. He handled himself well. Not only that, but I think he did way better than a lot of people expected. To do basically. Tank, yeah, he had his moments in there, just like Barrios did, but yeah, the talent is there. You can tell that power's there, the speed, that package that makes somebody, the next star in boxing. He has it, and he didn't miss weight. So if he starts fixing these things, he came in as a professional in this thing. So I think that the future's bright for him. And as far as Barrios, this is just to show that a fighter that's undefeated can go against the Lion, and just because you got your all out of the way doesn't mean that you already in the back of the line. I think his stock could really go up, and they will put him in there with some good competition, and he'll get another crack at the title. You know what I'm saying? Because the kid did good. The kid did great. I had him winning a few rounds, and I'm like, okay, I was way impressed too. I know he was a good boxer. I just didn't know how he was gonna handle, the speed, the power, the slickness of Gervonta. He did well, way better than, like I said, other people expected. So I hope other fighters and fans can understand that we don't have to judge a person just because they have one L in their record, especially when they go and they fight the man, when they fight the top dog. So I didn't pay for the pay-per-view, but I think as same as you, I didn't think it was worth it until the fight and I saw it and I was like, okay, this is worth it. It was entertaining,
Yeah. Skura said loved when his coach said go to the body and stop the head hunting and take listen, followed his team's instructions. Also, I'm a huge Barrios fan now. Yeah, I love him now. Yeah, and most fans are aware that he's a good showing for him, and they're not just going to throw him back to the Wolves. I don't think he should have to start over from scratch. He should be able to stay and actually get another top fight. He should not have to go back to the starting block by any means. Let's see, we got another comment here. Take should go straight for the undisputed junior welterweight championship versus Joshua Taylor, but the issue is he will be the A side. However, since that fight won't happen, Take should fight Lomachenko, and the winner either move up to the fight Taylor undisputed junior welterweight title, or wait to fight the winner of Teo and Devin Haney for undisputed lightweight title. I think, though, right now those are dreams. And why I say that, of course, we all want to see those fights. Tank versus Teo is great. Tank versus Loma is great. Tank versus Josh Taylor. All great fights. The only problem with that is Mayweather said after the fight he's fighting in-house fighters, just as we talked about last. I don't see these fights getting made. PBC does not like to do business. I'm actually still surprised that Fury Wilder 3 is happening. But that's really only because of already a contract drawn up that they have to kind of honor. Without that, I don't think we would have a third fight there either. I think PBC is going to try to do everything in-house. And, guys, I don't think this is getting made, but I didn't mean to bust your bubble, CJ. But would the rest of you guys say the same? I mean, it seems like to me that Gervonta Davis is going to be put on the shelf a la Crawford because he does not have that many. All the competition and the good big fights, that is not PBC, guys.
That's
right,
not
it's all
true.
Top Rank.
That's not true. I'm looking at the roster right now, and I knew you would do that. That's why I put it up to do my homework. There's enough fights in the PBC rank from what they're talking about with Tank because they're not talking about staying at a certain weight. They're talking about fighting either we're down into 130, 135, and the 140 mark. We're at whatever weight up and down that they want to move that makes sense between those three divisions. And in those three divisions, there's absolutely some tough fights. Even a couple of major fights that he can get at that weight class on the PBC roster. And I'm not just talking about I'm not talking about just young fighters either. Tank is the pay-per-view star. We already checked those boxes. If you don't, I have a list of those questions that y'all made about Tank coming into tonight's show. He checked those boxes because y'all said yes. So he is the star. He is the pay-per-view event. They have enough fighters on that roster from PBC. You're looking at Isaac Cruz Gonzalez, the Pitbull. He's only 23. Yes, he has a loss, but he is a dominant fighter in those lower weights at 130 that they can pit him against. You're looking at a possible fight with Adrian Broner, whether you like it or not. That's a money fight. He can make money off that fight.
Would he fight Mayweather or Bronner, though? Because, I mean, aren't they boys?
We're talking about in that stable. Yes, but we're talking about in that stable, though. That's it within the PBC
but there's
umbrella.
a stable, and then there's a makeable fight. Okay? There's still two different things.
So, based off of what Mayweather's saying, we're only fighting in-house fighters right now. Period. These are the in-house fighters. So, Adrian Broner would be that name. Robert Easter would also be a name.
And those fights aren't going to happen, man. That's not going to happen.
According
those
to
boys.
Floyd Mayweather.
I was at the Horseshoe Casino when he got kicked out with those guys. It is not going to happen.
Not going to happen, Robert.
It makes sense to James. James, tell him what I'm talking about. There's a thing. Difference. There's a difference between business and friends. You separate your friends from business. If Mayweather is talking about we're only taking in-house fights, these are the fights that are going to get made.
I think it's case by case here, and I don't see it happening with Broner. I just don't think he's on that level. I think Broner's his career is not at that point. He's, I for lack of a better word, a guy who's been there, but no, he's not. He's not in that conversation. Robert Easter, maybe. There's a lot in that. You're right. There is a lot in that house. I don't think Broner's that name. I don't see him fighting at 130 either. I just don't. I mean, he can. I just don't see it happening.
That's what they said.
130?
That's what they said. They said
35, 40.
Up and down. He said he can go up 40. And down between 130 to 140. Now, that being said, you're right. It might have to be at 135. These guys might have to come up. But there's a 5-pound difference in between there. There's other fights that I'm looking at that can be made between that division, though. You got Javier Fortuna. He could possibly move up to 135 and fight Tank. You got big clashes, the late class below 130 with Stephen Fulton. You can force Stephen Fulton to move up and fight Tank. I'm just telling you.
When you're talking about forcing people to move up, though, they already kind of like, that's not a major fight. If you're forcing people to move up, or if they got to change, it's not really going to be that big of a fight.
And that's my point. Because it's Gervonta Tank Davis, it is a big fight now. He made the name for him. He's making the name for himself, and these people will show up. You don't sell out stadiums.
Slow down a little bit.
You don't sell out stadiums in Atlanta, Georgia, if you're not a household name.
Let's slow down a little bit. Tank is by far not a household name yet.
He is now. Trust me, he is now.
You
These
can't put him
know
up there
who
with
he
Canelo and the rest of them, even Spence. I mean, I don't think he's quite there yet. He's building, and he does have a decent fan base, but I don't think he's there yet. Got a comment here from Bone. Tank versus Haney would be perfect, and we were just talking about that, about how we doubt that this is going to be a makeable fight, but we would definitely love to see it. Tank is not on Haney's level. Tank's still fighting PBC fighters, and Tank will continue to fight PBC fighters because that's where Mayweather.
Y'all missing my fucking argument. There is fighters there.
There is, Rob, but we're talking about the big fights. We're talking about the mega fights. There are big fights
there. No, we're not. It's only big to you guys because you want to see them. What's wrong with a fighter like Tank who has made a name for himself? I don't give a damn what y'all say.
I'm still waiting to hear a name besides Fortuna that's actually feasible. Because from what you've given us his friends and stuff. He's not fighting those guys. He's not going to fight Robert Easter.
They're on the roster. You don't know that. You can't say that.
I can't say that.
Roster.
I can't say that.
That's not what they said. They said we're fighting PBC fighters, and Tank said I'm going with whatever Mayweather chooses. Yeah. Period. That's what they said. He didn't say shit about not fighting my friends. He didn't say a damn word about not fighting anybody. He said, I'm putting whatever they put down on the fight note is who I'm fighting. And these are all PBC fighters under the umbrella within the weight class that he would have to fight. So you can't speculate and say he's not going to fight them.
I can.
You can.
I can. Okay,
you can speculate. And you can speculate that all you want to. But he's going to have to take those fights.
My main point of all this is I'm sorry for those who want to see those major fights like Haney and Loma. Those fights probably aren't going to happen, guys. And PBC it's coming back to PBC and Mayweather Promotions, Leonard Ellerby. He said it about Crawford, like he's not going to be able to fight unless it's an in-house. So he's wanting Crawford to come there, and he's not going to let Tank fight outside. I mean, they said it already, so I severely doubt it. Let's see. Sakura says, Rob, those names are not a pay-per-view quality fight, and I have to agree.
Tank is the pay-per-view. What? Why are you guys? What are you not getting? Help me understand what you're not getting. What I'm saying.
What we're trying to say is it does take two fighters right now.
No, it doesn't. Listen. Tank just proved it doesn't.
He is not the Pacquiao level when Pacquiao was fighting people like Josh Clottey to sell a fight. Okay. Because then it only took Pacquiao to sell that fight. Let's face it, Clottey's not a draw. And Pacquiao and Mayweather can do that. He is not on that level. Therefore, he needs a dance partner that's also worthwhile to create that kind of buzz, Rob.
So how is he fighting pay-per-view now and succeed?
He might not
how is
be.
He fighting pay-per-view right now?
We don't have the numbers for Barrios yet. We don't have the numbers. If it's not successful, it won't happen. Okay, and it depends on the opponent on whether he's going to be pay-per-view or not, because they want eyes on him. So if he's fighting like a tune-up, do you honestly think that's going to be a pay-per-view fight? Barrios had his O, so at least that had a draw to it.
Not only that, he went up 2 weight classes, and it was for another title. But Tank was a major name. He's selling out arenas right now. He's the name.
There is that argument that when you are the pay-per-view star, you need a good opponent, but you basically sell that on your own.
Thank you.
You do. I mean, it's, you have that name. It's Pacquiao, it's Mayweather, it's Canelo. I mean,
and now
it's just the way it works.
Gervonta Davis.
But taking it back a step, though, the real matchup that I want to see, and it's a shame that something that you touched on earlier, Lucas, is Devin Haney. I think in terms of style, that matchup, Haney-Davis, Gervonta Davis, would be fantastic. I don't think we'll get it because they're, again, different cartels.
So that's what I want
to get. That is the matchup.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to get away from with this conversation with y'all. Is you're sitting here saying what you want to see, and you're also saying at the same time that's not a reality.
It really isn't.
So you're saying Haney, what you Davis, want to see, it's not a reality. Tank is the star in this outfit right now. Period. I don't care what you say. He's the star. He's made a name for himself. And all the shit that he does right now, he's making a major name for himself. In that stable, in that current stable, whether you speculate that they're friends of his or not, if they're saying that they're going to stay within that same camp, within the same stable, there are fights out there to be made that will be pay-per-view that will sell.
Okay. We got a comment from Bon Cruz says, I see why Tank avoided Loma all those years. Loma versus Tio rematch or Tank fight should be next. Look, let's take a little test here, guys. With Loma, Tio, Tank, maybe Ryan Garcia also in the mix. If that was to happen, who do you guys think comes out of that tournament? If all these guys can get in the rings and just mix it up, who comes out shining?
So
Loma.
Are we talking about Lomo, Tank, Haney, Tio?
Yeah.
Those four?
Loma,
all right, James?
Loma. Hands down.
I agree. Especially if Loma is healthy. I gotta go with Loma. I think Loma's gonna school Tio if the rematch does occur. I'm honestly thinking that it might not, or they might hold off on that for quite a while. But we got a comment that believes Ryan is the weakest link of that. Ryan Garcia would be the weakest link.
The question was who's taking it, and y'all say Lomachenko. They all get knocked out by Tank. Gervonta Tank Davis wipes the floor with all of them.
Hang on. And the reason I'm going to pick Loma is simply for Barrios, okay? Barrios was able to outbox him, and Barrios outboxed well, but he is far from Lomachenko's pedigree. Lomachenko's going to keep turning him like he did Nakatani. He embarrassed Nakatani, who Tio struggled with. I mean, if he is healthy, I don't know if anybody can stop Loma.
Let me tell you this. In that matchup, it reminds me a lot about what in terms of what Tank goes through in these fights. You're absolutely right. He's going to be frustrated. You're absolutely right. It's going to look like he's outclassed. But when even if Lomo is able to turn him in everything that he's miraculously that he does so well, even if he turns him for whatever reason right now, the power, it only takes one shot. And Tank's been able to figure it out every single time, except once in his entire career. And with Lomo being at the weight he's in versus the weight and shape that Tank will be in for that fight, I don't see him lasting through that shot.
Well, I mean, has Loma been stopped yet, Rob? I mean,
you got to land it.
What makes you think
no,
that?
But what if not only that, Loma never been stopped, and Rob said that Gervonta's in the best shape, but what if Gervonta, let's say, right, hopefully not, and not throwing no salt at the man, but let's say the man misses weight again, then what? Then are we gonna make excuses because
we're speculating again? That's speculation because he hasn't.
He's gonna be in better shape, and I'm speculating that he's probably gonna miss weight because he have done it plenty of times. So
in the past, he has not done that when he's been in camp, doing the right things. Okay, and you have to assume the man. You have to assume the man is doing the right things right now because that's what he's on.
There's always that possibility. He might.
I still think
when he moved up to 135, he missed. Came in at 136. Had an hour to clean up that weight, and he did. Forget who that opponent was, but there's always that possibility. So I'm just gonna say at 135, he's pretty safe in terms of making weight.
Another comment from Bond. Tank knocks out Ryan Garcia, but definitely don't see Tank beating Haney. I disagree with that. I think Tank actually beats Haney and Ryan Garcia. I think he knocks them both out. Haney looked pretty vulnerable in his last fight, and I think Tank Davis is better, so just Tank overall. I think we'll find a way to get that knockout win. And honestly, I think Tank's going to be able to compete with all of them. I just see Lomachenko outlasting him and, keep turning him, not letting him set his feet. I think Loma's going to completely outclass him, but that's just me.
I see him doing that, but I see Tank walking through the punches. And once he lands that knockout shot, it's all she wrote. And we've seen that, and that's what's going to happen to me in that fight.
I wouldn't depend on one punch shot.
He's done it 26 straight or 25 straight times.
You got to understand, though, as competitions go up, knockouts don't happen as often. Look at Mike Tyson. I mean, when he started fighting the upper echelon of guys, the knockouts don't come as easy. Hard to hit a moving target.
And Tank is a very special fighter. And I'm just seeing him knock out everybody.
I agree with you on that.
I mean, yeah, it sounds like we're knocking Tank, but I'm just comparing him to other fighters.
You are knocking Tank, but it's okay.
I loved that fight. I love Javi gets it. Javi gets what I'm trying to say.
I'm nobody's knocking Tank. I like Tank, and he has the potential. But and I agree with Robert. He is a special fighter.
Definitely.
But then again, we're talking about Loma, the guy. That guy is the point. Well, outside he's a normal man, but when he steps in there, this guy be levitating in there. You know, he moves here, there. It's like when he moves, you can see like the shadows. You know what I'm saying? Like a ripple effect type thing. So it's. I think he will best. If they was to fight all of them like a Super 8 competition with the best fight the best, I think Loma will best all of them.
Well, that's what we need is one of those competitions.
We do.
So not going to happen, man. It's the cartel business, man. But Loma's a special one too. I don't think that's gonna. We're not going to see Loma Davis anytime soon. But I think if they can make a fight, his next fight with Haney, I'd love to see that. I'm not saying Haney's going to beat him. I'm not going to say he's going to lose. Good matchup there, though. It's a good, solid matchup.
I really hope we just get some of those, different.
And I might say something there because since we were talking about those guys, I think Teo can beat Tank because they got power. Both they got the speed, and I think Teo has that extra edge. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's the most intriguing fight, honestly. Because I see Tank beating Ryan Garcia. Okay, yeah. I can see Tank beating Haney, but Tank Teofimo is just that one's hard to predict. That was 50-50, true 50-50 fight.
Yeah, definitely. And any of them can drop them with any hand. Any of them can cause damage, and any of them can stop each like the other one at any given round.
For sure.
And they both got skills. They really do. They both got awesome skills.
That would be a great matchup.
CJ.
But don't sell Ryan Garcia short, though. He's coming up. He's coming to the party. Ryan Garcia got skills. He's got speed. He's got power.
What still has it? I'm gonna wait until his next fight. But the thing that scares me about him is he's still pulling out with that chin straight up. Campbell was able to catch him, and if that was a stronger fighter, I'd say he might not get up from that knockdown. If that was Tank,
first of all, I'm glad
that
happened. I'm glad that happened to him. That's a learning experience. But he's got a good trainer. They could clean those things up.
Yeah.
And if you're not improving as a fighter, you're dying, and it's just not a good thing, man. I think Ryan Garcia is coming to the party, and he's got a lot to bring.
Yeah, I mean, this is not the first time he got caught, but it was the first time he got caught with the new trainers. So hopefully the trainer saw it and was like, "Hey, we got to correct this." But
they told him as corner, "You effed up." They told him immediately. They were on his case, but that's all right. It's all right. Ryan Garcia is coming to the party. He's very much in this 135 conversation,
and he's an exciting fighter. And pay-per-view worthy for sure. I mean, he can get in there just as much as Tank is. I think they both can sell fights just about the same amount. Let's see.
And that fight can be made. Ryan Garcia, Tank Davis, it could be made, yeah.
I only agree because Golden Boy is so small now. I think he can kind of go wherever he needs. CJ says we may get Lomachenko versus Taylor because they are under the same umbrella.
It's a good possibility.
Wouldn't that require really Loma to go up again, though?
Yeah, but that's 140, and that's not going to happen. And I don't think Taylor's coming down. So. He's talking about moving up. He's talking about he wants Crawford.
Yeah, I don't.
And that's 147. So
yeah, I doubt that too. Not to be bearer of bad news, but I think Loma's going to stay 135. I don't really see him going up to 140.
Yeah, I think he could at the very tail end of his career. And he's got a long way to go.
No, what it sounds like to me is, and that's why Senior said that fight has to be next. It sounds like Teo it will only stay down for a Lomachenko rematch. Otherwise, he's going up to possibly take on for Josh Taylor for all those undisputed belts.
It's just funny, Rob. At one point, you wouldn't even acknowledge some of these people. And now,
this weight
135
class
was iffy. That was on the borderline. And now we're talking about literally we could talk about just this division all day.
Guys. Like he used to call it, the small guys that nobody care about. Obviously now they started to pick it up, and they care about. Mind you, that his limit was 135, but when Gervonta Tank came to the scene, he dropped it to 130. That's when he lowered the bars just so he can, be on the Tank train. And he's been on that Tank train hard. You can tell when he speaks about Tank. That's his next Floyd, and that's cool because that's the potential. I just hope that you understand that that's exactly how we feel about Loma the God, baby.
And I'm actually surprised, and I'm going to give you credit, Rob. You actually are back on the Loma train because you were swore him off. You said, he was over. You remember that? He finally got on board with Loma, and then it was, no, he's garbage.
Yeah. But he impressed me, too, this weekend, especially. But let me tell you something. As good as performance that Lomachenko put forth on Saturday night, and it was a hell of a performance by him. It was dominating. It was exactly what it needed to be. I got goosebumps seeing Tank's performance. Tank's performance after Tank's performance, that kept me up all night because it says something about a fighter that can do what he did in all honesty, which if you go back and listen to the quotes, it was truthfully honest. Even when I went to 135, but even more when I came up here at 140, I was nervous about being able to hurt Barrios and also being able to take his punch. And that's being truthful for a guy that is admitting to not being used to going into the unknown. And he was down in the fight, according to some of the unofficial scorecards, according to Floyd Mayweather. But what he does with that information, what he does in those fights, even going back to the Gamboa fight, when he didn't fight as well as we thought he could, he turns it up and he does what he's supposed to do in the most dominating fashion you can, which is the knockout. That's why I'm impressed with this kid.
He is impressive. There's no question about it. He got outboxed a little bit in the early rounds, but overcame that. So yeah, that's speaks more to his talent, more to his fortitude than anything.
I did want to touch on something that I did not like at all during the fight. And of course, I'm talking about Mayweather being ringside, being able to lean on the ropes, being able to tell him his unofficial scorecard, and touching his gloves. None of those things, in my mind, should be allowed at all. Never. And if his name's not Floyd Mayweather, I severely doubt he would have been allowed to do that either.
I didn't see him touch the gloves, but I think that's a disqualification.
During the fight. That should be an immediately disqualification.
That's a disqualification.
It should be. It should be. But he's Floyd, so he can get away with it. I did not like that.
He got away with a lot of shit in all his fights.
Yeah.
The illegal framing with his elbow and all that. He did that endlessly.
Yeah. Fury's done that in the past, too. It's really annoying, though, because who knows what would have happened, if he didn't get on his case and tell him, hey, man, you're behind, Davis might have coasted. You know what I mean? He might not have tried as hard for that knockout. He might not even won. That could have changed the entire fight, let alone touching his gloves. Now, in no way am I thinking that Floyd did something, to the glove or anything like that, but that just should not be allowed. They should have stopped the fight. They should have, kept him away from ringside. Number one, that's your fighter, and you're acting as like a trainer, but you're not in the corner. So you can't be ringside. Why is he constantly given special treatment is beyond me.
Well, he is the promoter.
Yes.
He's running the show. But that leaves a bad
But you don't see Bob Arum, ringside, touching people's gloves and shit. You can't do that, man.
I'm gonna answer the question with this real simple response. Lucas, you're absolutely right. However, the fact that you brought it up and everything like that only alludes to the fact that you hate Floyd Mayweather.
No, I don't care who this is. Nobody should be able to be doing that kind of stuff, okay? Nobody.
But it infuriates you even more so due to the fact that it was Floyd Mayweather.
No, it's because Floyd keeps getting allowed to do things like this and things that nobody else can do and get away with. And I don't think Tank should be punished, okay, because Tank's performance was still good. I don't want this turned into a no contest or something like that, but it should not have been allowed and it should have been addressed immediately. But who's going to speak up to Floyd? Not a soul.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah,
I think even my man here himself, if that would have been somebody else's promoter, as some other fighter, he himself would not be so cool with that. You know, like the promoter touching the glove, being in the corner, being way too involved, way past, you know, what he could be doing there. But since he's Floyd, since he's Tank, hey, you know, we gotta let it slide. That's how a lot of people feel.
Well, I mean, even getting outside instruction from somebody other than who's in your corner, period, is illegal. No, you're not allowed to get outside help like that.
No, yeah, you can't. I've seen media, I'm not even going to say names, somebody got really drunk, okay, got up on the apron, started yelling instructions, was told to get down, did not listen, then told to get the fuck down, and then got, you know, kind of left under his own free will, because if not, he was going to get escorted out. You cannot do that. You can't be given instructions. You are not in the corner, therefore you cannot be giving any kind of, let alone like telling him the score. You're behind now. You can't do that, man. This could have been a completely different fight, and Davis might have coasted and ended up losing the fight. But by telling him, hey, man, on an unofficial scorecard, you're behind, what does that cause? That causes me to be like, hey, you got to go for a knockout now. Right?
Yeah.
But nobody's infuriated except me for some reason.
Again, like I said, that's wrong, but I'm not going to hate on it.
No, I agree with you. I hadn't really thought of it that way. I noticed that there was some interference, but I don't know. I guess maybe I'm just accustomed to seeing Floyd do whatever he wants to do.
Right. I think everybody is, and because he's the star and the name that he is, he's just allowed to do it. Rob, I think this is more generated at you, so I'm going to read it to you because you're the only one that was kind of for it. CJ Hooker says, I'm not paying pay-per-view money to see Tank fight a bunch of in-house scrubs. He needs to take the Taylor fight, let Taylor be the A side. I think Tank beats him, and then he can call his own shots.
And in this room of people, you're not alone in that opinion. However, the majority rules. So I guarantee you, Tank keeps building his name up, knocking these guys out. He's gonna get that. He's gonna get that Floyd Mayweather attribute. He's gonna get that Floyd Mayweather moniker. He's gonna get that Floyd Mayweather money.
Will Hunter says, in the professionals, you don't have to touch gloves. Period. I think that's you don't touch the gloves. Period. Amateurs, you do look at. I can't even say that name. Okay, 7-second KO from touching gloves as a pro.
No, I mean, there's a commission for it, and then if that would be the case, then everybody will walk to the corner, give instructions, touch a glove, pass somebody in the bag, give them. Like you have a corner, right? Especially just like in the amateur, you have the head trainer, and then in the amateur you have a head trainer and an assistant. In the pros you have the cut man, the head trainer, sometimes two assistants. The commission is there. They're doing their job is to make sure that nothing funny, no funny business happening there. Mm-hmm. So,
and they're supposed to have a person in each corner that should have been overlooking this and telling them, like, what are you doing? You know, making sure they're not doing anything illegal in the corner when he blatantly did something illegal in the corner. Sakura said, name one other major fight that occurred in Georgia. The Boxing Commission is not going to find him. That's not looking good on Georgia's Boxing Commission. And, I might reach out to him just to get maybe a statement from him and see what they have to say.
That's a good idea.
I do want to hear that because this should not be allowed. And if it is, I don't want to see major fights come back to Georgia if this is the way that Georgia Boxing Commission is going to, handled himself, so to speak. So,
from my home state, that is not the direct opinion or anything that of heavy bag boxing. I want to get into fights here in Georgia. We do not condone that. That is expressive to Lucas Biggers only.
Okay. But you already know that he's going to come back to Georgia. He has a big fan base there in Georgia. Whether it will follow him to Vegas and you know, beyond is beyond us, but I think he'll definitely come back to Georgia.
Well, my bigger question to this whole topic is why is every time Floyd Mayweather asked if he's going to train Tank Davis, he responds emphatically no, when obviously he wants to train the kid. I don't understand that for the life of me, why he doesn't want to put himself in the trainer position when it's obvious that he can do it.
I think he just knows that he doesn't have the time or the patience or all of the above, really. Attention span to deal with it all. I could be wrong, but let's see. Vaughn says Josh Taylor too strong for Tank, not fair fight. Tank should fight somebody else near his size. Teo Sr. will not let Teo fight Loma. I disagree. I think Teo Sr. wants that fight to happen from the sound of it.
It's a big money fight.
Yeah.
That's the fight they got to make.
And honestly, like Sakura was saying, it's in-house already, so it's easy to make, and it's big money fight. I mean, you got to take it. And a loss to Loma is not bad. Like, that's a loss similar to any other.
That sets up a trilogy.
Yeah,
honestly,
I mean, it's not bad.
That would set up a trilogy.
And a rubber match, I mean, that's even going to be a higher number pay-per-view, so you're going to get, even more money. Sakura says the point is that the state boxing commissions are more beholden to the major promotions because of the money involved. And you're absolutely right, but that is not how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be universal. It's supposed to be set rules for a reason. Maybe Mayweather is listed as part of the corner? No. You're allowed a certain amount of people in your corner. You can't be really more. I mean, you're allowed 5, you're allowed 4. That'd be messed up. But Mayweather can do what he wants. So
no, Mayweather never stops promoting his name himself. He's always in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
So
we have a question directed to us, but I'm gonna let you say what you're gonna say first, Rob.
No, go ahead, because I was just trying to turn the attention somewhere else.
Bond wants to know, does Pacquiao have a chance against Errol Spence? I think the answer to that really is out of Pacquiao's control for a lot. I mean, it's all on old Father Time and, how well he can hold up. But if Pacquiao shows up looking like he did against Thurman, by all means, he has a chance against Spence.
Most definitely. I look at a really 50-50 there. I think maybe Errol Spence has a slight edge, but it's close. That's really close.
I mean, I was the only one that picked Pacquiao to actually beat Thurman. I think going into it, I think a lot of people are going to be picking Spence, but I think as far as Vegas odds go, pretty close. I mean, very slight underdog, but I think it's going to be a close fight.
So as crazy as it sounds, being 2 years off helps Manny Pacquiao because of the age, because of how old he is. Those are less fights that are now under his belt. So it's less damage that he's been taking in these last 2 years. So to me, I think he absolutely has a shot in this one, especially being his last fight was a victory against Keith Thurman, and he hasn't taken any more punishment since. I absolutely think he has a chance in this fight.
Well, about to wrap it up, but Rob, do we have any rapid fire? Or have we touched on everything?
So first of all, you took all of my rapid fire questions but one. So I'll ask y'all this question, and it's an interesting one, and of course the fans can chime in. Hopefully we don't get a big rant off of this. But I just noticed, especially in two fights in particular, where we have Deontay Wilder versus Fury rematch, And then now it appears that we are trying to get Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez in the rematch. On the Wilder side, he's taking this very strong. He's taking offense to everything Fury has done. He's pissed off. He's making this a grudge match, which is why he wants the immediate rematch. Go back to Lomachenko. People were even saying during the fight that he's mentioned Tio's name more than they mentioned Nakatani. That's all that consumes Lomo right now is Teofimo Lopez. Is it good for boxers to be this motivated and this hateful towards another fight? That's my question.
I mean, I'll go first. I believe emotions, right? It could be a good thing if you know how to control it. There's a lot of these guys. They're very competitive. So, yeah, when they get used to win, and they find somebody that actually give them that L, they probably can't sleep right. It's messing with their psychology there over and over. But there's a big difference. For some, it has been proven that for some of them, it motivates them and it pushes them, and they come back better. They bounce back. But some of them just never return. Some of them are just too weak mentally, and no matter what they say or all these things that they're trying to put up as a show, if they don't perform, if they don't deliver, it was obviously that what had happened, what had taken a toll on them. We know a bunch of fighters. We watched the game for so long, so we know a bunch of fighters that have come back better, and some fighters that never came back. Right? One person that comes to mind for me, because it would be like Nazim, right? Prince Nazim. He was never the same after Barrera. He even retired. There's certain fights that's been like that. With Lomachenko, Tio, I would say I think Lomachenko has a very chance of not only beating Tio, but kind of like getting back and make a good fight out of that. With the other fight with Fury and Wilder, I only hope that Wilder can redeem himself by putting himself back in the map with that knockout, with that power that he's known for, because he has shown already that he could get a little odd after L, and a bunch of delusional excuses come up and all these pointing fingers and a lot of things that show his character. If he wins, people will forget about those things and move over, and maybe him himself can make peace with himself and all the things that he said and he did prior to this rematch. But if he doesn't, that's a big question mark right there, wondering what the hell is going to happen with this guy, not only on his career but mentally, because he's given us that side already that we can see, the custom, the water, the trainer, the conspiracies. There's a bunch of things that makes you wonder, and now, like the other fighter said, right? He said, you say all these things and then come to the press conference, the only time to promote the fight, you want to go mute. You decide to, put your headphones and put your shade and just block the world. That's you put those things out there. Right? You call yourself the king, the champion, this and that. Then you have to deal with the things that you have said and the things that you said, right? As a man, you're willing to stand by those things. He didn't do that,
Yeah, I mean, boxing's made by rivalries, Rob. I mean, honestly, it thrives on it. Without it, I mean, boxing would be a little flat, if you ask me. We wouldn't be seeing as near as much as we can. And if we're talking about Wilder, I don't know. I think, honestly, if he loses this one and loses it bad like the last time that they fought, I think Wilder's done. I think Wilder hangs it up. I think he is. I think he's made enough money already. I don't think it's about that. I think right now, both of these guys that you're talking about, Wilder and Loma, want that fight. And when they want to fight badly, that's good for a fighter, because they honestly both believe that they can both win this fight. And, part of me is hoping that both of them do, because it would even spring more fights. And I think Wilder would get maybe even a fourth fight against Fury, as CJ Hooker just said. If Wilder wins, we will get a fourth fight between them. They will be 1-1-1. So, can't can't knock that. That's going to be the case. But yeah, I really think that the rivalries continue. I mean, you just think about Pacquiao Marquez, you know, all of the trilogies that we've seen, you know, Gotti Ward, Rios Alvarado. I'm just some
reminiscent. There's a lot of things that Deontay's got to learn to do, and hopefully with his new trainer, he is learning those things. A lot of that has to do with his footwork, obviously head movement. The list goes on, but to make it short and sweet, the sport needs rivalries, and it's got a huge one here, and it's going to be played out real soon. And we'll see if Deontay Wilder did his homework, if he can gain control of this fight or be pushed around and bullied and, you know, pushed into a corner, pushed into the ropes and not fight his fight. He's pretty much got to stay in the middle of the ring and deal with a bigger fighter, which is not something he's done a lot. But I think that in this last fight, he learned an awful lot about who he was and who he wasn't, and what he had and what he didn't have. And there's a lot to correct there. I think with Malik Scott, we're going to get it done. And I think that this rivalry will show that Deontay Wilder is going to put Fury on his butt a second time, except this time Fury's not getting up. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I'm of the opinion that he didn't get up the first time until the count of 15, but that's me.
Is that?
I will agree with that. We also agree with the part that when King Kong didn't drop him but hurt him, and then he got a minute. After the minute, he went to the corner. He got a whole 30 seconds to recover. You know, we have to check on those things too. You know what I'm saying? Because if Fury got 5 seconds more than people say that he should have got, then Wilder, nobody said nothing when Wilder got a whole 30 seconds after the 1 minute rest. He was completely out on his feet. Let's not forget that, right, guys? Just 911.
Right.
It's fair. That's fair.
That's fair.
Bond says, Go ahead, James.
There's been a lot of that. Buster Douglas was down for about 15 seconds.
Yeah. That could change boxing history right there. Bond says, Robert is the MVP in the panel. Homie keeps the arguments going. Much respect, Rob. Robert is at a 4K TV in the background. And then homie Rob got that Will Smith hat. Respect. Okay, so yes, Rob is the Stephen A. Smith of the group. He definitely keeps it interesting. That's what we keep him around for. But I think this about wraps it up. It was a good show. Thank you all for coming on. Hopefully we get Sakura back and feeling better, and we get her back on next week. Possibly also a guest. Stay tuned to all of our social media at Heavy Bag Boxing. Don't forget to check us out at heavybagboxing.com. For the rest of my panel, this is Lucas Bigger signing off. This was Tough Talk Tuesday, and we'll see you again next week, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Have a good one.